Cool. Good evening, everybody, as you're coming in. My name is Junior Buckner, and you're through to Life Builders Men's Health Essentials, where we're looking at diet, exercise, and mindset. We've got a really exciting lineup tonight, and I'm really pleased to have, I would say, a creme de la creme panelists, and you'll hear from them very shortly. This month, November, is International Men's Day on the 19th of November, and we thought it was prudent that we actually do something this month to mark that occasion. So we'll be looking at health, and I think for all of us as men, this is something we should, if we're not already, take very seriously, particularly as Black men. But you'll be hearing from four significant people who will be sharing with you facts, figures, experiences, encouragements, ideas, but we also want to hear from you. So for those of you on YouTube, please do, number one, for us, like and subscribe to the channel. But more importantly, for your own sake, do ask questions. Put your questions, comments in the chat box, and we won't be able to answer everything, but we will take whatever we can and pass these on during this session and try and get your questions answered. That being said, I just want to introduce two of the people, Darren Letman and Emil Gaynor, who are also from Life Builders, and they'll be kind of assisting all three of us actually trying to run this show tonight. Emil, you'll hear more from him because he'll be the questionnaire tonight. Without any further ado, I am going to hand over to Emil, and Emil, I'll let you kind of run things and allow the panelists to introduce themselves, with, of course, Dr. Chidi will be coming last in the introductions.
Okay, thank you, Junior. So what we want to do first of all is introduce you, or rather let the panel introduce themselves to you. And what I'd like to do first is ask Patrick White if he can introduce himself.
Okay, well, thanks first and foremost to for the invitation. Thank you to Life Builders and to all those people out there that are watching. Yeah, my name's Patrick White. I'm a musician and a husband and a father of 3 boys. I started a Facebook page actually in January of this year. Started it with 36 members, then put out a challenge, put out a challenge in September, mid-September, to see who wanted to try and lose a stone within a month. Within 3 months. So from mid-September to the end of December, let's see, because of during lockdown, a lot of people had put on weight. So I just set this challenge and people have been taking it up. And now the group from 36 now stands at over 1,400 in the space of like 6 weeks or so. So the group's growing, and basically everybody that's taking part is walking. So the page is called Walking to Wellness. And I myself was 24 stone at my heaviest. So I'm now 12. So, and that's been primarily just by walking. So, yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. What I'd really like to see is some before and after pictures. So perhaps you can share those with me at another time. But I think that's a massive achievement, and we'll delve into that as we go through this session tonight. Okay. Could I ask Darius to introduce himself, please?
Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? Thank you again just for inviting me to be a part of this amazing panel for this amazing topic. Yeah, really honoured to be here with the guys who are on here. So yeah, my name's Darius Innes. I'm from Leeds. I'm 27 years old and I'm a personal trainer. So my background is I've always been pretty sporty. I played basketball to a pretty high level. I played my first year in university, semi-pro at the University of Worcester, but I kind of went down another route and I went into coaching. So I went into what's called strength and conditioning. So I started working with athletes around that time, and then I finished my undergraduate sports and exercise science, bachelor's in sports and exercise science, and I went on to the University of Sheffield Hallam University, should I say, and got my master's in sports and exercise science. I spent about a year and a half working in rugby and football, doing exercise and strength, primarily strength training, with a performance and injury prevention sort of niche to it. And then now I've gone into my own business. I'm personal training. I'm doing fat loss and still strength and conditioning. So my approach to fat loss, wellness, health, and all that stuff is very evidence-based. It's very based on contemporary literature, research, not just necessarily, okay, do this and do that and it should work. Everything that I do is, I believe in the science behind exercise and performance, weight loss, fat loss, muscle building, everything like that. So my kind of approach, and hopefully what I say today will be backed up by, contemporary science in terms of nutrition, exercise, and all that good stuff that's very scientific that I'm going to try and dumb down as much as I can today.
Thank you, Darius. Our next panelist is Darren Harris. He's no stranger to Life Builders. So welcome back, Darren, and please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Darren Harris, and since losing my sight, I've been on a mission to unblind the mind. I think to achieve your true potential in whatever that might be, I believe you have to uncover those blind spots. And when it comes to men's health, there are a lot of those blind spots about. As our Jamaican parents would have said, your ears hard. Now, I'm going to come at this from two perspectives. Firstly, from the sports field. So I was England's most capped and most decorated blind footballer. I also did judo for Great Britain. I competed in 2 Paralympic Games. So a lot of experience in sport, but I also come at it from the classroom. I study psychology. I have a master's in health psychology, and hopefully I'll be able to sort of blend those 2 bits of experience and knowledge together to share some ideas with you today.
Thank you, Darren. We look forward to that. And then finally, Dr. Chidi, again, welcome back to Life Builders. You're no stranger to Life Builders. Please introduce yourself, but I know you're going to do a short presentation as part of that introduction.
Yes, well, thank you very much. I think there may be a video coming just before.
Yeah, I can play that now, Doctor.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
My name is Ian Greenstreet, and I'm a chartered accountant and banker of some 35 years. For the last 15 years, I have had hypertension problems. And for the last 3 years, they've been identified in my medical reports as being of serious concern. I went to see my doctor, who prescribed blood pressure tablets. But I've sought to find alternative means for dealing with my blood pressure. I went on slimming regimes, I ran the triathlon, I tried everything, and nothing that I did was sustainable. In December 2019, I had to go to hospital because my blood pressure was very high and I was fearful of having a stroke. The doctor in the hospital immediately prescribed me with blood pressure tablets and told me that I had no choice but to take them because hypertension was a factor for people of African descent, and that was my fate. I was fortunate enough to be introduced to Dr. Chidi Nangwabwa, known by many as Dr. Chidi. Dr. Chidi is a Cambridge trained, UCL trained, and John Hopkins trained physician. Dr. Chidi discussed his consultation with me, and with some skepticism, I decided to take up his offer. My blood pressure reading was 175 over 139. And at the end of the consultation, that is a 6-week consultation, it was 106 over 79. His consultation involved looking at the factors that affected my hypertension. He tailored his program specifically for me. He adjusted my diet, adjusted my exercise. This for me has been a life-changing event. I'm fortunate enough to have thrown away the blood pressure tablets. I'm frankly surprised at the extent of the positive change, and again over such a short period of time. I would without hesitation recommend Dr. Chidi to anyone with these issues. I'm sincerely grateful to have solved a problem that I've had for 15 years. I'm now cured, and if anyone requires any further information, please don't hesitate to contact Dr. Chidi. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Well, I'm grateful for that video because it kind of encapsulates pretty much what I do. As has been said, I trained as a doctor here in Cambridge and UCL, and I went out to the States to do a bit there as well. But I started off as a surgeon, but really everything I wanted to do was to reverse people's disease. Is it possible to reverse diabetes? Is it possible to get rid of hypertension and heart disease? What if somebody does get cancer? Is it possible to prevent them from getting it again? So all of those questions have been answered in really my quest and looking into the evidence of what we can do to keep ourselves healthy. So I've just got this very short presentation I'm going to talk with you about. Hopefully you can see that on the screen. So that is me, that is who I am, and if anybody needs to contact me, that is absolutely fine, feel free to do so. But my program is called Life Colors, not Life Builders, but Life Colors. But it matches, right? I mean, we work together. So Life Colors really looks at really the big diseases, the big chronic diseases that we as people in the West especially are getting: cancer, obesity, dementia, depression. All of these issues, thankfully, are reversible. All of them are reversible. And I'll be happy to take your questions a lot later. What on earth do we do about it though? Well, look, I mean, it's topical today. Look, over 99% of the people who died from COVID-19 had an underlying disease. Over 99% had an underlying disease. Only 0.8% did not have an underlying disease. So trying to get rid of chronic diseases, of lifestyle diseases, is absolutely vital. I think about chronic diseases as if they are some kind of a bear in the distance. Yeah, you see this bear, it's stalking you in the distance. You don't want that bear to be stalking you, but it's so far away, it's not really going to hurt you. So diabetes, high blood pressure, yeah, you don't want it, but it's not going to kill you right now. So it's just in the distance. But what COVID-19 did, it kind of put a rocket booster into this bear. So now it's right on your shoulder. So now you find that this disease is picking off people who have any weaknesses, who have any illnesses. And it speaks to the lie that, okay, I'm okay managing my disease just with medication. Even when you're managing it with medication, your body is at risk. If not with COVID, influenza, high stress levels, we all become victims to it. So this is why lifestyle medicine, what we call lifestyle medicine, becomes so very important. Now we're talking about diet, exercise, and mindset. So let's just look at one or two things you can do to help yourself if you have any kind of an illness. Let's take blood pressure. If you have blood pressure, one thing, and there are many things you can do for your blood pressure, but one thing you should do is eat a lot of greens, right? And I'm saying especially as men. Now I'll explain what I mean. You see, what what greens are able to do when you digest them, they go into your bloodstream, they go to the inner part of your artery, and they cause that artery to release a chemical called nitric oxide. Let me just tell you, that chemical nitric oxide is the active ingredient to Viagra, right? Now, maybe everybody's waking up now, right? So the more dark greens you eat, the more of that punch of Viagra you're getting. Now, when you're, I say this to a lot of people, you need to eat more greens, especially to black men. You need to eat more greens. And they say, well, I don't want to eat that. That's rabbit food. Look, rabbits don't need Viagra. Let me just tell you that. I think you know that, right? You don't need. But more importantly, folks, because we're talking amongst men, because there will be some people with erectile dysfunction, for example. I would say to you, rather than just going to your GP with erectile dysfunction for a blue pill, erectile dysfunction means that you're at a massive risk of a stroke. It means you're at a massive risk of a heart attack. So doing something about your lifestyle, getting involved with your diet will make a massive difference to lowering your risk of a future stroke or any future event. I know we're going to be talking about walking and exercising. I love to hear what was said about walking. Look, it's so simple. One of the treatments for diabetes, after you've finished eating, the best thing you can do is go for a walk. Activity, exercise. Yes, it's about diet, but it's also about activity. Here's something else that you may not know. Just by standing, you're being active. You're activating muscles. By standing, you increase the amount of fat you're burning. I have a standing desk at work. I have a standing desk at home. If I'm standing for 6 hours a day rather than sitting, I'm burning up enough fuel so that at the end of the year, if I'm doing 6 hours a day, I would have done the equivalent of running 25 marathons. That's a marathon every other week just by standing 6 hours a day. So there are simple things. You don't need gym membership even. I mean, I know we've got a personal trainer here, but I'm sure he's got tips that you can do at home. But there are simple things we can do that can actually improve our health and fight off some of the biggest deadly diseases. I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk to you about this. But let's think a little bit, it's not all about eating, drinking, and exercise. Let's think about what disease really is, because I think disease is obviously dis-ease. We're not at ease. There's something going on within us. In fact, I would say at the heart of all of these diseases, there is that stress, that lack of peace. If you want to talk about somebody who has high blood pressure, well, some parts of the blood pressure are the stress that you're going through and how you're responding to it. Diabetes, cancer, all of those things. So maybe it's got to do with what we're thinking about as well, what our mindset may be. And I say, look, if you want to start dealing with it, we have to embrace this pain that we're going through. All of us have some sort of pain. And if we're not dealing with it, it just gets worse and worse and worse. Don't avoid the pain. Embrace the small amount of pain so that you can avoid the larger amount of pain. I'll end on this bit. What is important for us to do, because we're talking about health, is to guard your heart. Guard your heart physically, but also guard your heart emotionally. We as men need to protect our hearts emotionally. And I love this text, which comes from Proverbs 4:23. Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life. And it's such an important text because it says, look, out of the heart comes blood, which is the spring that gives life. Okay, we know that. In fact, we didn't know that until 1624. But it says something deeper. What it says is, look, the issues of our life, don't come from our neighbors, don't come from our spouse or our children or our boss. They actually come from our own heart. And that speaks scientifically to the fact that if we are able to manage our response to stress, our response to difficulty, whatever the difficulty may be, our lives become a lot easier. The stress, the depression, the anxiety cannot flourish if we can learn how to deal with all those external difficulties, because they cannot force us to be stressed. They cannot force us to be anxious. That is our response and it's our response that makes the whole difference. I'm sure we're going to talk a lot more in the discussion, but for now, thank you very much. I'll hand you back to our moderator.
Thank you, Dr. Chidi. Very insightful, and as you say, we will delve deeper into some of those topics which you raised. I have a question. We spoke about disease, and the question is, which health tests and screening should men get done, and do these vary by age?
Okay, that is an important question, because what we find is that men tend not to go for screening, for any kind of screening. We tend to go to the doctors when we're really half dead. Now, women, at the drop of a hat, they'll go, but we have to be dragged kicking and screaming. At the very basics, I would say, look, get your blood pressure and pulse checked regularly. I mean, that could mean every week, every month. Buy a machine yourself, get it done. Blood pressure and pulse can tell you so much about what's going on in your body. Okay, if you've got a high pulse rate, that means you're working too hard just to maintain yourself. That's far too high. Blood pressure for black men, it does tend to go up quite a lot quicker. There are ways we can reverse that, absolutely, but we should be monitoring it. Now, then there are the big ones, like everyone's going to talk about prostate cancer. Should you be screened for prostate cancer? Well, my advice is, unless you have a family history of prostate cancer, someone in your family with prostate cancer, or you have symptoms like you have a weak stream or blood in your urine or anything like that, there is no real point in getting tested for prostate cancer. I know the screening starts at over 40, everybody should get it done, but let me give you the reason why I say not. And actually, it's not me saying it, this is the evidence, and you'll see the controversy, even in the NHS and in America. You see, the test for prostate cancer, the PSA test, is not very specific. Okay, it means that it gets a lot of false positives. So if you test 10,000 people, that's great, because you'll probably save one life if you test 10,000 people, fantastic. But you will falsely read positive for about 500 men. So they don't have prostate cancer, but they have an indication that they may have prostate cancer. And what that means is that they have to have further tests, biopsies, often surgery, for no reason. So unless you have some kind of strong history or strong indication, there is no point in getting a prostate test.
Thank you. So blood pressure is important, having your blood pressure tested regularly, your pulse tested regularly. But from a prostate perspective, unless you have some family history or any kind of symptoms which could suggest some form of prostate problem, then the tests available are not particularly effective. Yeah. Okay, and thank you.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say thank you for that. Yes. On the same question, can we bring Darius in from a fitness perspective? When you have new clients, how do you engage with them from the beginning? Do you get them to do any kind of fitness testing, any kind of diagnostic testing?
Yeah, of course, because everyone's going to come in at a different stage. So some people are going to come in and they used to play county level rugby, and some people are going to come in and they just worked in IT their whole life. So there has to be some sort of balance for me to understand what this person can do. Now, generally speaking, again, it's going to be, for me, I'm going to screen on the go. I'm going to have an idea of how fit somebody is. But in terms of diagnostics that somebody can do in their own time, first of all, I want to echo everything that Dr. Chidi said. I agree wholeheartedly with every single word, and he's now my hero. But honestly, everything he said is good. One simple thing that men can do to know where they're at. Like, I'm big on the little things. If you be relentless with some of the little things and form habits, it makes massive differences. Similar to Patrick White's story, he's lost how much stone just walking. Little thing, little change. Now, something men can do to see where they're at is resting heart rate. Literally check their pulse at their neck or wherever they can find their pulse. Sit there for a minute. Okay, the average is normally around anywhere between 60 and 100, lower being better. So if you're like, let's take the median number, 80, that's where you should be around, somewhere in and amongst 80. Now, if you're starting to go up to 90, up to 100, that's when you need to start thinking about, okay, right, how can I bring this up for longevity? Now, again, things like that is going to be the bear in the distance. But what happens when you're faced with it? So it's little things like that I try and encourage my clients to do. So we won't just do general bodybuilding. It'll be the little things. I'll tell them, right, you need to go on a walk. We need to do some high intensity interval training, or you need to come in and do some incline walking on the treadmill. You need to get your cardiorespiratory system working, especially in this time with coronavirus and stuff, because that's what the virus attacks. So for me, it's more so, again, from experience. I'll get them to do a particular exercise. I'll see how they cope with it, and I'll gauge it from there, because I'm not in a laboratory setting. Now, if I was in a laboratory setting, it would be a test called your VO2 max test, which is basically your rate of oxygen consumption. So basically how much you breathe in, how much oxygen you actually take in. So you might take in a big breath of air, but you're only utilizing 20% of the oxygen or something like that. And again, as you get higher up the athletic scale, you'll utilize more oxygen. There's little things like that. Dr. Chidi will know tidal volume, respiratory exchange rate. There's a lot of scientific things, but for me as a personal trainer, I will get them to do something simple on a treadmill or a bike, and I'll be able to know, okay, right, this person needs work in this area or that area. I hope that makes sense.
It does, and thanks for that response. But as almost like a supplementary question to that, then for you, Darius, for somebody who hasn't exercised for many years, what is a good way for them to start?
The best way to start is to start, really. There's no, like, I think a lot of things, when I speak to clients and speak to prospective clients and people who ask me questions, a lot of people ask that a similar question: what's the best way to lose weight? What's the best way what's the best diet? What's the best? The best thing is to do something, really and truly, wherever you are. So for me, if somebody says to me, Darius, I want to start exercising again, I'm going to say, well, let's start really small. Start really, really small and build it up from there. Again, just working on your movement, working on squatting, working on your body weight stuff, like doing press-ups, doing planks, just general body weight sort of stuff to start off with in terms of strength building. Then moving on to your cardiorespiratory stuff, getting out and walking. Get out and walk for half an hour to an hour every other day. I would say that's the best way to start, personally. If you can build those habits and build them into your lifestyle, then once you maximize that, that's when you can start moving into a gym-based environment, in my opinion. If you're a complete novice, that's when you want to start moving into a gym-based environment, and then probably start with machines, because machines will put you in a fixed place where it's difficult for you to go wrong. So leg press, chest press, shoulder press, get yourself on some machines, and then you kind of go so on and so forth from then. And if you can, get someone who's a little bit further along in the journey than you to help you out, whether it's a personal trainer and you can afford a coach, or whether it's a friend or a family member who you can go and start with. Again, having some accountability is a massive thing as well. So I say that for me, that's where I'd start people.
So consistent with Dr. Chidi, who spoke about, not having to join the gym, but doing simple things like walking after a meal. It's about starting small and building from there. That's what I'm hearing.
Precisely. And I echo what Dr. Chidi says, as much as, again, I am a personal trainer and I want you to join my gym and be part of my business. But again, in order to increase your health, and all that sort of stuff, I tell people, even my clients, I tell them, your 2 sessions a week with me or your 3 sessions a week with me will not be enough. You have to still hit your step count that we've given you. You still have to hit your calories that I've set you, and hit your protein, especially. You still have to, there's so much homework that goes into it that, again, you don't need a gym membership. A gym membership isn't where you go to get healthy. It's where you go to get strong. But in my mind. So once you've gotten healthy and you think, actually, I need to get my lungs a bit stronger, I need to get my muscles a bit stronger, that's where you go, if that makes sense. For me, it's a progression, not a start point for most people. And that's why people yo-yo with the gym. They join in January, and come off because they haven't got that foundation of general health,
Yes.
which is super important.
Yes. Let me bring Darren in here, because Darren, from a psychological perspective, people understand that they need to exercise and kick things off, but a lot of the time they can't bring themselves to do it. What kind of insight can you give us into psychology surrounding, the motivation to exercise?
I think we've got to get into a habit of tracking what we're doing. Often people put on weight and it's like it creeps up on them without them realizing, and they just add another notch to the belt and another one and another one and another one, and then they get another set of clothes and another set of clothes, and they've got these wardrobes of clothes all these different sizes, and it's because we're not really kind of mindful. They're not really mindful of what's going on. They're not observing their body, and there are apps out there now. If you've got an iPhone, there's an app on there. There's a health app on there. You can track so many things. You can track your steps on there. I use an app called Strava, so every session I do, it gives me lots of data back. You can get heart rate monitors. There's loads and loads of things you can use. Most of them free, just to track what you're doing. And I think that's a really good step to start. Is just knowing what you're doing every day. And to back up what Darius and Dr. Chidi said, he mentioned the research from Chester University about, it was some guys on a standing desk, and we spend so much time sitting now. As Darius has said, what you do in the gym for that 45 minutes or an hour is not enough to undo what you're doing for the other sort of 15 hours in a day that you're awake. So I think standing more is a great place to start. If you're on Zoom for the whole day, because we're all working from home now, and you're not even doing the walk to the car or the walk to the train station or the walk to the cafe at lunchtime, the most that people are walking now is to the kitchen and to the bathroom. And so doing those basics by standing more and walking when you can, and I know winter's on its way and that might be a challenge for a lot of people, but yeah, there's some really simple things to start. And I think everybody wants to get to the end so quick. We go on Google and we look for, the shortcuts and the quick steps to get somewhere. And realistically, you're not going to undo 30 years of a bad lifestyle in just a few weeks.
Yes. Thank you, Darren. We've just had a question that's come through on YouTube, and it's made me chuckle. And let me turn to Patrick on this one, because you could probably understand this more than most of us. Here it is. I have a big belly. How do I get rid of it? And you're still on mute, Patrick.
Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, I did mute myself. Hi, can you hear me now?
I can hear you fine.
Yeah. So I was saying, I think Darius would be, as a personal trainer, he's probably more qualified.
But you've done it though.
Qualified to, yeah. Well, for me, it was cardio and doing cardio, which is still, even when I'd lost quite a bit of weight and started to go to the gym that I was going to at the time, one of the gym trainers there, she says, I said to her, oh, I need to lose this stomach, patting my stomach, and she just went cardio. So yeah, I said my journey has been one really up till now has been walking. I am now at the gym, so I could definitely identify with what Darius was sorry about that, what Darius was saying regarding starting simple. But yeah, I would definitely say cardio, and then certain, because again it's about educating yourself, so even the practical steps of going on YouTube and seeing there's certain videos that personal trainers have done. It might be high intensity workouts. So for instance, my wife does one called T25. which was quite popular with a guy called Sean T. And even my son started to do it with her. Well, they both have lost weight, but I could see with my son, he was doing it, and literally within weeks, because he didn't have a big stomach, but he's only 19, but I could actually see the physical changes, because again, being educated to know what exercises will work and are connected, because sometimes it's certain exercises that we do that we don't think are actually connected to our core and our stomach, which are the things that actually help with that. But initially, as you lose weight anyway, your stomach comes down.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's going to be of any help, but I think just generally by losing weight, as I said, I was 24 stone and had a big, and as you can imagine, being 24 stone and just gradually and just losing the weight has helped me massively in my whole frame.
Thank you, Patrick. So up until now, we focused more on the exercise side of things. And this next question, I want to circle back to Dr. Chidi, and then some of the other panelists as well. Perhaps you could chip in with your take on this question. But the question is, food intake versus exercise. Can you outrun a bad diet?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very relevant question. And for most of us, we would say no. Most of us in the normal sphere, if you have let's just say you go to McDonald's and you have a medium-sized Big Mac meal, to burn those calories off, you're going to have to run. I don't mean jog, I mean run for a good 4.5 hours. Most of us can't do that. Okay. But I say most of us can't do that. But if you look at people who try and climb Mount Everest, for example, yeah, they're having 9,000 calorie days. They can do it because they're putting in the work, right? But for most of us, it has to be a fine balance. When it comes to for my job, reversing disease, we would say it's probably about 80% what you're eating and then 20% the exercise. But what the exercise does, I mean, I like to say it's like the fine tuning. It's the fine tuning of your health. It helps you look better, feel better, all of those positive things that come out of exercise. So the diet does something quite magical in terms of reversing disease. Exercise does as well, but it also fine tunes how you look and how you feel. So no, most of us, we can't outrun a bad diet. So it's better to try to consume fewer calories as well as doing the exercise. And I say the best way to do that is not really to cut your calories, but to eat foods that are lower in calories. And I don't mean supermarket low-cal food. I mean things like fruits and vegetables and whole grains, which are bulky and fibrous, but have fewer calories. I mean, very few of us can eat a whole watermelon, very few, but it has about the same amount of calories as half a packet of biscuits. Many of us can eat half a packet of biscuits in a few minutes. But the reason why we can't do the melon is because there is so much fiber and water, and that's how it was designed for us.
I don't know if you can hear. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, sorry, I lost you there. I lost you there. My internet connection is a little bit unstable. Okay, so sorry.
Paid the bill, I hope.
I hope so. I hope so. So that same question, Darius, could you give us your insight on this question?
So could you just repeat the question just so I can
Yes. So food intake versus exercise. Can you outrun a bad diet? What sort of things would you be telling your customers?
Yeah. So basically, so weight gain and weight loss is a concept called thermodynamics. So a calorie is a unit of energy. So obviously you need energy to move and do what you ever need to do. So you need a particular number of calories a day to literally exist. If you were to sit on your bed all day, just blinking and breathing, you would still burn over 1,000 calories easily. So it's just what so your food and your food gives you energy essentially. So what happens is, if your energy based on your lifestyle, so let's say you are I don't know, a builder, so you move a lot around and you're picking things up, moving, you're going to have a higher requirement of energy, right? So you're probably going to need a higher amount of calories. Whereas if you're in an office job, you're probably not going to be moving as much, so you need a lower amount of calories. The issue is now when you start to tip that scale, one way or another, you're either going to start to lose weight or slowly put on weight. And it's similar to what has been said by Darren, that, you know, progressively a lot of people will put on weight over 4 or 5 years, and they'll be like, ooh, my belly's getting a little bit bigger. And it's just because it's so slow and steady, because they've had a positive energy balance where they're consuming more calories than they need. They will continually put on weight. Now, as I said, for me and my clients, I tell them from the jump, the 2 or 3 sessions a week with me is not going to put you in a net weekly energy deficit, which you need to be in to be losing weight. So for me, for the average person, they can't outrun a bad diet. It will always catch up with them. Even myself, some of my friends who I grew up with playing basketball with, they put on weight eventually, and they're like, oh, when I was so young and I was playing basketball every day, I could eat what I want. And then that part component of their lifestyle may have changed, and they still keep the same eating habits. And slowly but surely, they're a completely different person in 4 or 5 years. So if somebody does want to lose weight, it's going to be, again, circling back to what Darren said, is tracking as much as we can, because the more we can monitor, the more we can be in control of what we're doing. Now, I don't put my clients on any diet. I don't say to them, right, you're going to have to cut out this food or cut out that food. I say to them, make good choices and make sure you're monitoring what you eat. Again, there's millions of apps that you can use to just, all you literally do is scan a barcode on a particular food. It pops up in the app. You say how much you've eaten, and it tells you your calorie amount. Do that for a couple of days. Make sure you're in an energy deficit, and weight will come off. It's literally that simple. And honestly, there's no way to get around that. Again, increase your activity, eat good food, and with moderation, you're all right. So I had one of my clients, she used to train me twice a week, and she didn't lose any weight for around 6 weeks. She was religiously tracking, but she didn't hit enough steps a day. So again, making sure that was outside of the gym. So again, hit your steps, hit your calorie numbers, eat foods you enjoy, because then it's going to be sustainable, and enjoy the process. Because if you get all that stuff right, it's just time.
Thank you. Turning to Patrick then. So Patrick, in your journey, when you lost, was it 8 stone in total?
Well, 9.
9 stone in total.
Yeah.
So you spoke about the exercise side of things.
Yeah.
Did you pay much attention to your food intake as part of that journey?
Yes, but my story is kind of, in terms of my recent weight loss, which has been probably over the last 2 years, it all actually happened without me realizing, because it was just my lifestyle had changed. I started working away from home more. When I say working away from home, because I'm a musician, so I've got a studio set up here. But then I started using a space in the city centre. So basically, I'd be getting up and then probably feeling hungry, like I wanted to have breakfast. But then for some reason, I probably would end up not having breakfast, and then I wouldn't actually feel hungry. You know, when you go past that phase of you feel hungry and then you don't feel hungry. So then I'd just get on with my day out of the house, but then I'd be walking to the train station, which wasn't far, but walking to the train station, then from the train station to the studio. And then generally, if I had like the scenario where I had clients in, which might be a band, I'd be walking around the studio, setting things up before they get there. When they're there, setting up. So I was moving quite a bit. I think the realization came more when I changed my phone, which was 2018. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, when I was getting home, it was saying, "Oh, congratulations, you've hit 10,000 steps." So that almost became a daily marker, because it pretty much that's how my life was. But I was eating less at the same time, without, no, not saying, "Oh, I'm on a diet, I want to," because what it was, when I was 49, because I'm now 52, when I was 49, I was probably around about 20 stone, 20 plus stone. And my first goal was always to reach 18. And I thought, right, September, when I'm 49, I'm giving myself a year. Because I always said, and this is something I still say to people, that if you can just at least lose a pound, even losing a pound a week, that over a whole year consistently, every week, that's 52 weeks, that's like 4 stone, that is. And a lot of people think, "Oh, I didn't actually look at it like that," because again, it's that thing about wanting the quick fix sometimes, and we have those programs, Biggest Loser and all those, where they do it in record time. But I'd had done that 24 stone, and I'd come down to 19.5 stone thereabouts in 5.5 months. Originally, way back, that was about 2004, 2005. But that was pre social media, and not a lot of people seeing me, so a lot of people didn't even realize that I had lost weight. But then it piled on because of what I had to do to gain that wasn't sustainable. So this time around, it was all, I'd set the goal of, yeah, right, I'm gonna do it. I joined Pure Gym, and I started even walking to the gym, which was about a 20-25 minute walk. But then that soon fizzled out because of just lifestyle and whatever. So I never actually hit it, and I just left it at that. So yeah, so with the process that was happening to me after I hit 50, I was actually moving more and eating less without actually realizing, because I was actually meeting friends for lunch. Still, I'd be going to wine bars and having steak meals and all the rest of it. But the difference probably is that meal that I would have when I was going to meet friends or meet my wife or whoever would possibly be the only meal that I had for that day, because I never had breakfast, had that meal, and it just, and I was full, because my appetite was getting smaller without me even realizing, and I was moving a lot more without me actually realizing.
Understand.
So I think the crunch came when I because my jeans kept on falling down. So again, just as weight can creep up, and then you do get the indications like, okay, this is tight now. The reverse was happening, and I forever was pulling up. I mean, you'd probably see me in town, and I'd be walking with one hand on my jeans and they're on the belt, and I'm like holding it up, and like,
So you're
which really,
sagging. You're
yeah,
sagging in town as an
yeah,
older man.
yeah. And I wasn't trying to be trendy either.
Thanks
So,
for that. I've got another question. I'm going to change the tack just a little bit here, because we've had a question that's come through on YouTube, and this one is for Dr. Chidi, and the question is, what can be done about MS? What are the best foods to eat?
Okay, so multiple sclerosis. This is a disease where the antibodies attack the nervous system. This is one of roughly 500-600 different diseases where antibodies attack different parts of the body. MS is the nerves, thyroid disease with thyroid gland, rheumatoid arthritis with joints. It's all the same heading, but it's just different parts of the body. And pretty much, with some slight variations, the treatment is the same. So first of all, before I tell you what to eat, the things that you should not eat, because the things that will make it worse. So anything that has milk protein in it will make it worse. Anything with milk protein in it will make it worse. If you want to help yourself, one of the best things to do is to have vitamin D every day, reasonably high dose vitamin D. You will find, and there is a World Health Organization map of the world which charts multiple sclerosis around the world. And the countries that are on the equator have very little incidence of multiple sclerosis because they get lots of sun, lots of vitamin D. So and if you go up to places like Norway, high levels of multiple sclerosis because they don't get much sun. So vitamin D is one of the best things. Get rid of dairy products, because that's one of the worst things. And then you're going to have to, as we're talking about mindset, you're going to have to learn how to manage your stress, because multiple sclerosis, like all other autoimmune diseases, gets worse under stress. These episodes come out when you're under stress. But those are two things that you can do. Now, what we can't do is reverse multiple sclerosis, because once the nerves have been damaged, they don't grow back. But you certainly can stop it from progressing. And we've been doing that. I've been doing that for many, many years. In fact, there's a research that's been done since 1991 between Toronto and Norway. And every person who went on that trial has stopped their multiple sclerosis just by diet alone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Darren Harris, how can I take the step from casual exercise to becoming an elite athlete?
Well, I guess...
and that's something that you've done yourself.
I think that's pretty difficult. I would say get a coach if you've got any real potential to be an elite athlete. But ultimately, most of us have been doing it since we were day dot. I mean, as a kid, I was running around my mum's living room, kicking a ball around. I mean, I was probably doing 5 or 6 hours of exercise a day, as a teenager. But we never considered it as exercise. We were just having fun. We were just playing with our mates. We were playing football. In fact, I used to do athletics at school, and we'd play football for a couple of hours, and then I'd go down the athletics club to quotes train. But the football didn't think of it as exercise. Or when we were kids and we were playing kiss chase, or postman's knock, all those old games we used to play, we were doing exercise all the time, but we just never thought of it that way because it was just part of my DNA. So often when we look at athletes abroad, when we look at some of the athletes coming out of Kenya and Ethiopia, and then you get someone here who takes their kids down to an athletics club and goes, I want my kid to be the next Mo Farah or Usain Bolt. And you're taking your kids to the club twice a week. And you got some of these kids in Kenya and Ethiopia are running 10 kilometers to school and back. So ultimately, who's going to be doing the better performances 10, 15 years down the road? It's kind of obvious, really. So if exercise isn't part of your everyday life, you're never going to make it as an elite athlete.
Thank you. Thank you. There's another question for Dr. Chidi, and in your, I think it was you, Dr. Chidi, in your introduction, you spoke about prostate cancer, and the question is, what are my chances of developing prostate cancer? We know that Afro-Caribbeans have a higher likelihood of developing prostate cancer, but what can we do to reduce that risk?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and I guess we kind of accept this idea that Black men have a high risk of getting prostate cancer, but we don't actually ask the question why. What is it that we've done for us to be so susceptible to prostate cancer? The biggest reason is what I was talking about before. We don't get enough vitamin D. We are Black men living in the West, in Northern European or Northern American countries. We don't get enough sunshine. Even people in Africa sometimes, because they spend most of their time in an air-conditioned room or an air-conditioned car. So the fact that we don't get enough vitamin D, that's a big problem. So definitely, and I have no shares in vitamin D. I'm just making sure I'm not promoting it from my own benefit. But vitamin D is vital for our immune system. All of us have cancer, folks. We've all had it. We all have it now. The only reason why we don't get the disease is because our immune system identifies cancer and destroys it before it becomes the disease. The thing that will boost your immune system the most is vitamin D. The next thing are the foods that we eat. I mean, we have lots of evidence to suggest that things like blueberries actually make more natural killer cells in your body. A spice like cardamom activates the natural killer cells. These cells are the ones that actually go out and destroy cancer. So there are lots of things, and obviously the things that you know that are not good for you, the fat and the sugar and the high salt, those things suppress your immune system. You have a higher risk of getting prostate cancer. But the very interesting and good news is that prostate cancer was the first cancer that we ever realized could be reversed. And by that, I mean lifestyle change. Even if you've got an early diagnosis of prostate cancer, lifestyle change can put it into remission. It can turn the gene off for prostate cancer. So lifestyle is really key.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. Thank you. Okay. We're going to move back to, I think we're going to bring Darius in now, and the question is this: I'm not shedding weight fast enough. How do I accelerate the process?
My question, I hear that one quite a lot, and my question would always be, why do you want to lose weight faster? I think for a lot of people, losing weight is a very emotional kind of roller coaster. For somebody who might have, again, been at one weight and got you know, put on a little bit of weight over time, or someone who's just always been big. So there's like an emotional attachment to, right, I need to lose this much weight in this much time. Like, I've had people come to me, right, I need to lose 3 stone in 3 months, and I'm like, no, you don't. Because the risks of losing, what you have to do to lose that weight in a short space of time is far gonna exceed again these little lifestyle changes, habits that if you extend it will be sustainable for the rest of your life. So that would always be my question, because generally speaking, people who are registered dietitians, I'm not a registered dietitian, I just look at some of the research, they will normally recommend, again, no more than like 2 to 3 pounds lost per week, and that's on quite an aggressive calorie deficit. Now, again, if you aim for 1 to 2 pounds per week of fat loss every single week, again, over a month, that's 1 kilogram. Again, you know what I mean? Over 6 months, that's 1 stone. And these are things that can be done without any exercise, without much exercise, should I say. It's just little lifestyle changes, controlling your calories, switching out processed foods for whole foods, all those sort of things. Now, once you've got that, that's always going to be my foundation, and that's where you should look to lose weight. Is always going to start with your diet. Next thing to do is what Patrick kind of touched on, was just activity that isn't activity. It's called non-exercise attributed thermoregulation. It's called your NEAT. Okay, so that's your 10,000 steps a day. That's you standing up instead of sitting down a day. That's all those things are going to start contributing to your weight loss, and hopefully accelerating it a little bit faster as well. And then last but not least, I would say resistance training. If you can get yourself stronger, right? My big saying that I always say to my clients and everybody is, you can't go wrong with strong. Everybody who is strong relative to their body weight is a more robust person. They have less back problems, knee problems, hip problems, all those sort of things just end up fading away with strength. Like, again, I had a client come to me and he had knee problems. So we just got strong. Like, a lot of physios in the NHS will be like, oh, don't do lunges because it's going to hurt your knee. And I'm like, no, do lunges because it's going to strengthen the muscles around your knee. And again, when you strength train, you're going to burn more calories. When you're burning more calories, it all kind of works together. So I would say, again, it's starting small. Get your calories right. Okay, that's your 1 to 2 pounds just off calories. If you're in that 500 calorie, around a 3 to 500 calorie deficit, that's what you want to start aiming for. That fits around your lifestyle. Don't just cut calories for no reason. Still have 5 to 6 meals a day, 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a couple of snacks. It's really easy, and just track it all. Get your steps in. Anywhere between 7 to 10,000 steps a day is fine. So that's your NEAT. They're the 2 biggest things you can do for fat loss. Then you want to start sprinkling in some strength training. In my opinion, that will get you easily 2 to 3 pounds. If you're consistent, that will easily get you 2 to 3 pounds per week. Now, I get a lot of people asking me about things like Herbalife, Juice Plus, Slimming World, Weight Watchers, and say, oh, well, I saw testimonials of people losing 3 stone in 3 months and stuff like that. And I'm like, have you seen them in a year later? Because there's a lot of research. I think Dr. Chidi might know about this, and probably Darren might know about this. There's a lot of research on what's called a rebound, which is when people don't have the correct education to make a lifestyle change, is that in 12 months, 6 to 12 months, they generally put on more weight than they've lost. So that's a big risk in this whole kind of weight loss thing, is have you actually got the foundational education to make it a sustainable lifestyle rather than, right, you've lost weight. Because if you lose weight, you're just going to go back to your old habits and probably put it on quicker than you got there in the first place.
So this is all about slow, sustainable change then, isn't it?
It's
sustainable weight loss.
The biggest thing for me, and what I have to get my clients to come around to, once I do this, we're fine, is that it's a lifestyle rather than I'm losing weight. It's I'm going to create a sustainable lifestyle for the rest of my life. Whether you train with me for 6 months, 2 months, 5 months, a year, 2 years, is what my whole aim isn't for you to lose weight, because you will lose weight if you have the foundation there, if you have the sustainable lifestyle, which you enjoy, because if you enjoy, you'll be consistent. And again, you'll get so much more benefits, because a lot of people come to me to lose weight, and what they end up doing is having better energy levels, less stress, better sleep, better relationships, and all this sort of stuff that kind of meshes into it. So if you understand it's a lifestyle change, so there's an old definition of health from the 60s or something like that, it was coined, and it was saying that general health is the absence of any kind of social, mental or physical debilitations, so to speak. It's the absence of anything in those 3 sectors. Now, this kind of notion has been developed and redeveloped as models are, but I think, as again, all these things kind of tie together. So social, mental and physical. Me as a coach, I focus on the physical side. However, I'm sure once you start getting physically fit, it spills off into your mental. It helps again your stress, which will then help reverse disease and all this sort of stuff, and your energy levels. Then it will go out into your social. Now you've got more time to spend with your children, or more energy to spend on, going out and doing things you like. And then you're going to want to be more physical, and it all kind of comes into an umbrella of, okay, we are trying to change our life, not just lose a stone. There's got to be more to it than that.
So I'm going to just develop that theme a bit and bring it into the current context with a question to Darren. So if my current lifestyle has a big chunk of gym participation, gym time in it, but COVID has basically mashed it up, so I can't go to the gym, how can I replace that gym routine? What do I need to do, Darren?
Let me just back up something Darius said as well earlier about just the word diet in itself. I think from a psychological point of view is a poor word to use, because it by definition means temporary. When people go on a diet, it's I diet for a period of time and then I stop. So the whole reason why people yo-yo is because they make these changes for a period of time and then they return, and then they've lost that weight and they go, right, now I can go back to what I was doing before. And it's no surprise that they end up where they were before. So I think we've really got to get away from the word diet and focus on lifestyle changes which are sustainable in the long term. In terms of routines around, the gym's closed, there's loads of stuff out there. Someone mentioned Sean T before. I think that's the Insanity program, and there's various other ones. Joe Wicks has got loads of stuff you can do from home. I do struggle myself training at home. It is completely different. You have to be in a certain mindset to actually kind of train at home, because there's a kind of build up, isn't there, in going to the gym. You pack your stuff in your bag and you get to the gym, you go to the changing room, you go into the gym, and there's a whole kind of warm up, I suppose, in getting there. So I do struggle, but nonetheless, opening your front door and going for a walk, you can still do that. And you can still stand when you're on your Zoom calls or when you're making phone calls to your clients. So I think there are loads of things you can do at home. There's lots of exercise programs you can do from home.
Thank you, Darren. We've just had it's quite a specific medical question, so I think I'll direct this one to Dr. Chidi. And
oh, we've lost you.
I think we lost you there for a second.
Oh, I see. Okay, am I back now?
You're back now, yeah.
Okay, right. So this is a technical medical question that's come in from one of our viewers. My adrenaline glands are over excreting a hormone which causes high blood pressure, and I can't say this word, aldosteronism.
Aldosterone.
Yes, okay, thank you for rescuing me there. What can I do to control it? Not sure which exercise is ideal with this condition.
Okay, that is quite a specific question, and perhaps you may want to contact me after for a fuller answer. But when something like that happens, when you're releasing too much of a hormone, that is usually because it's being stimulated to release. And almost certainly, like other diseases that affect the adrenal glands, Cushing's and stuff like Addison's, it is an autoimmune problem. So the antibodies are attacking that part of your body, that gland, and causing it to release too much. So again, you go back to the way that you can reverse autoimmune problems in general, but for the individual, there will need to be specific things that you have to do. The good news is that it is reversible, but we just need to know exactly where you are.
Okay, so I suggest that viewer perhaps drops you a note afterwards for a fuller answer.
Absolutely.
Okay, right. Here's a question, and I'm going to leave it open for whoever would like to. In fact, this is what. While you're on, Dr. Chidi, if you could take this one first of all, and it's this. And we know you're a proponent of a vegan diet and a no animal protein diet, so which is not very popular in Caribbean circles. Because the question goes like this: can I still have my rice and peas and chicken on a Sunday, and still get the benefit from a vegan diet during the week?
Okay, good question. Now, so yes, I promote what we call a plant-based diet. You see, a vegan diet is not necessarily a healthy diet. You know, there are very unhealthy vegans. I used to have a few vegetarian vegan restaurants, and we have lots of unhealthy stuff there. For me, it's about having a low-fat, low-sugar, plant-based diet. And to be honest, yeah, I mean, if the majority of your diet is plant-based in that regard, yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with eating rice and chicken if you want to eat rice and chicken every now and again. That's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, it's not like it's terrible food. I think we should look at the type of chicken you eat. Look, if we were back in Africa, back in the Caribbean, the chicken that we have running about, absolutely fine. But if you look at how chicken is treated, for example, in this country, what it has to be injected with all sorts of other animal proteins, antibiotics, steroids, it's not as great. If you had the old organic stuff, that's no problem. So yes, you can have the rice and peas and chicken. I'd say whole grain rice though.
Whole grain rice, okay. And whole grain peas as well?
Great, yeah.
Okay. So here's another one, and I'll put this one out for anybody to answer. What supplements are generally safe and sensible to support resistance or weight training?
I can say that throughout my entire career, I hardly used the supplement at all. And partly because they were unregulated. So we all got drug tested and you had to make sure stuff was kind of batch processed and, you know, didn't get contaminated in that process. But if you eat the right diet, you really don't need most of the supplements which are out there on the market. People are taking extra protein and a lot of it includes just extra fat as well. So I think avoid them, to be honest. Save your money. We've mentioned vitamin D, so that's an obvious one which we could all be taking, because we live in a northern European climate. But I don't take any of the other stuff.
Okay. Any comments from any of the other panelists?
Go on, doctor. I'll go after.
All right. Well, I just totally agree with what Darren has said. You know, there've been lots of studies on supplements. The World Health Organization did a study for 20 years with 4 million people, and they showed that pretty much half of the supplements we take actually do us harm. They're expensive to take, and they actually do us harm. And unless you are super deficient in a nutrient, there is absolutely no point in taking it. I mean, when people take a lot of vitamin C, for example, 99% of that is peed out into the toilet. That's an expensive way to use your money. I mean, you are literally peeing money down the drain. So I don't recommend it. I mean, the only ones I do recommend, yes, vitamin D. For some of us on a plant-based diet, I sometimes recommend B12, but that's it. There's nothing else I recommend.
Yeah, I'd like to echo the same thing. Even as a personal trainer, a lot of people say to me, "Oh, I need to go buy this, I need to go buy that," and I'm like, again, why? My biggest thing for all my clients is eat food first. Supplements are legitimately that. They're supplements. They're not supposed to be, you know, they're, again, if you're deficient in something or if you really need something, then that's when you go for it. Now, obviously, when you go into like the performance world, that's when people start using supplements and everyone thinks, okay, well, because, and it's the media, because it's money. A lot of supplements are money. So it's like, oh, well, I need to buy this protein yogurt. I need to buy, they've got protein written on everything. There's protein Weetabix nowadays. It's ridiculous. But I would suggest, if you are strength training 3 to 4 times a week, just to be able to keep your output high, you may want to have some whey protein to slow down muscle soreness. If you are training seriously 3 to 4 days a week. Now, if you're going to the gym and doing body pump 2 times a week and legs, bums and tums, you probably don't need any protein or creatine or BCAAs or pre-workout or any of that. It's nonsense. So a lot of people I know want to take BCAAs, which stands for branch chain amino acids, which are touted to improve muscle growth or hypertrophy. Now, there's only one BCAA that contributes out of the 12 essential ones. It's called leucine. And for the maximum amount of muscle growth that you need from leucine, it's like 4 grams. And you get that in like a chicken breast. So having these extra things that, again, you've seen your favorite influencer promoting, you've seen it on television, you've seen, I don't know, again, Usain Bolt, he says, right, I drink these BC, because they paid him £1 million to say he drinks it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So for normal everyday people, you don't need any supplements. Eat food first. Now, for people who are seriously strength training and people who are athletes and doing heavyweight training 3 to 4 times a week, to keep your output high, you may need some protein. You may need some sort of protein. But again, that's the least of your concerns. Again, and even protein, there's millions of different ones to choose. 80% of people, normal people, will just need whey protein at concentrate. Just grab that, and you're all right. Literally for the reason of alleviating muscle soreness, and that's it. Not for anything else. So you can go to the gym again the next day. But if you can just have another chicken breast, do that.
Okay, thanks, Darius. I want to talk now about 2 things. The first thing is sleep, and the second thing is water. So let's cover water first. And what I want to do is just get the medical view on the importance of water for men's health, for health in general. And then I just want to get from 2 panelists how they manage, their insight into how best to manage your water intake. So if I could turn to Dr. Chidi, and could you give us an insight in water and the importance of water?
Well, sure. Now, water is probably the best supplement you can add into your diet. It is the most essential thing that we really put in our mouths. It's vital. When you think about it, every reaction, I mean, you have trillions of reactions going on in your body every single second. Every one of them has to take place in the presence of water. The more water you have, the easier it is. The less water you have, the more difficult it is. Think about your blood. I mean, blood is essential. The thicker your blood is, the more pressure you're going to have to use to get your blood around the system, the thicker your blood is. So just by drinking enough water, making sure your blood is dilute enough, your blood pressure can come down. There is nothing, so long as you're drinking the right amount of water, there is nothing that doesn't get better if you're hydrated. I guess the question must be, well, how much should you drink then? What is the right level? And I always say, well, yeah, we've all got different levels of activity. We're all different sizes. So just saying 8 cups a day doesn't really make it. What I say is make sure your urine can be colorless, right? If you can get your urine colorless, you've got enough water. And then I always say, if it looks like Lucozade, you need water. If it fizzes like Lucozade, you need to see a doctor. But, you know, what you must do is have enough water throughout the day. And some people say, well, you know, I don't like drinking water. Sure, you can add whatever you want to. You can add fruit to it, herbs to it, whatever you want to add to it. Well, not whatever. No point adding sugar to it. But so long as you can just get it down, treat water like medicine.
Thank you. And could I ask just one or two of the other panelists just to give us their take on water and what they do when it comes to making sure they drink, excellent, Dr. Chidi, they drink enough water? Perhaps Rick, we haven't heard from you for a few minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, what I do, because I used to like to drink a lot of soda pop, which wasn't good for me, and like I don't take water with me per se when I go for a walk. And the first thing I want to do is actually drink some juice or something when I come back. But what I do to combat that, to help me to drink water, is I'll just take a bit of fruit. I'll just have a piece of fruit or a grape, a couple of grapes. Then I'm able to drink water because I've had that taste satisfied. And then between 1 to 2 liters of water that I can drink.
And
No.
yellow or white urine for you? What's the normal for you?
White. Sometimes
White.
it has been, yeah, but because I did suffer with diabetes before, so it used to be yellow. So it is a good indication.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Darren, water intake.
It's something I've struggled with actually myself, and one of the reasons is I'm quite a light sleeper, so we're going to go into sleep in a minute. But because I would wake up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet, that would just keep me awake then, and I couldn't get back to sleep. So I try to front load with my water early in the day. So when I wake up, I get loads of fluids in me, and I kind of drink less as I'm going through the day. I think the other thing we can do is if we don't like the taste of water itself, is you can have juice with it, but if you do have juice, you can still water it down because it's still got so much sugar in it. If you look how much sugar there is in a carton of orange juice or apple juice, you'd be horrified. So I think just getting used to sort of diluting, and those of you that have squash, again, make sure that you use lots of water with it. Some people have got like half and half, Ribena and water. Let's make it a tenth and 90% water. And again, that's something you can keep tracking, how much you dilute your drinks.
Thanks, Darren. And let's turn to the subject of sleep now. So firstly, let's go for the medical view. Dr. Chidi, how important is sleep and how much sleep do we need?
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting that right the way, even into the 80s, scientists were trying to figure out, why do we actually need to sleep? I mean, why can't we just lie down and be awake? Because, you're not moving or anything. But there's been a lot of studies done into it. But here's a few things. For example, when you're sleeping, when you're actually sleeping, your body is able to repair itself. When you're if you have high blood pressure and you're stretching your arteries and you're making these tiny imperfections inside the arteries, tiny tears, the reason why this doesn't build up with people who are sleeping well is because at night your body repairs itself. So it doesn't build up. For those of us who are stressed and we don't get proper sleep, those imperfections accumulate until 10 years, 20 years down the line, you've got what we call heart disease, atherosclerosis, because all of these fats have anchored into these imperfections in your arteries. I mean, obviously there's so much we can do. We want to talk about mindset. Sleep is important in terms of anxiety. So if you're unable to rest properly, if you cannot rest, then your body and your mind is always constantly going. You need to have that space where your brain, and we don't understand it fully, where your brain can kind of unwind and figure out things. You know, some people have quite vivid dreams, and a lot of psychoanalysis says that those dreams are not without meaning to you. And it's where your mind is really trying to work things out. It allows you to not just rest physically, but also emotionally and even spiritually.
Thank you. Thank you. And then, Darius, you're obviously a fit, healthy guy. How important is sleep to your daily or your weekly routine?
It's massive for me personally. Let's say I've got a day of training clients. I can't switch off when I'm with that client, and I might start at 6 o'clock in the morning. I might have 3 or 4 straight away, have an hour break, 2-hour break, you know, and then 3 or 4 more, or you know what I mean? So I can't switch off. So I do get, and I try and give a lot to my clients. So I have a nap every single day, if I'm honest, just because of my workload. Because a lot of people will be, let's say, between the hours of 2 to 4 o'clock. That's normally my slower hours because people are at work. I normally get few before that and a few after that, but around 2 to 4 to 5 o'clock, that's when I know I have to get some more rest in, because it's just, again, it allows your body to reset, to energize itself, to heal itself, and all that sort of stuff. Now, coming from a performance kind of background where I come from, sports science, exercise science sort of stuff, now, if you're not sleeping, it can actually impair your muscle function. So if you've done a great workout, if you've done a great, you know, cardio workout, Sean T, Insanity, if you've lifted some weights and you have less than 6 hours sleep, it's going to impair your returns on investment. So sleep is imperative, again, for your cognitive function, in terms of just being able to concentrate throughout the day, for your, again, anxiety, mood, all of that sort of stuff. It's super important. Now, I don't know where it came from, but there's the whole, you need 8 hours of sleep a day kind of thing. Now, there's a lot of controversy around there. It's 8 to 10 hours of sleep you need as an adult. Now, there's some people who can function on 6. There's some people who can function on 8. Some people who need 10. Now, I would say anything less than 6, you need to really look at your lifestyle. If you're sleeping less than 6 hours a day, that's when you're going into places where you're not going to be as highly functioning as you should be. Even if you get through it, there's always going to be a part of your time where you crash. You know what I mean? Because you're not giving your body the time it needs to rejuvenate all its systems, kind of, you know, like how you reboot a system. You like, let's say your computer overheats or whatever, and it's just like, you know what, let me turn it off for a little bit, let it cool down, and then bring it back on again. It's the same thing, similar concept with your body. Your body needs that time to just you know, get its resting heart rate down, get its blood pressure down, breathe, get oxygen in, and do its processes. So yeah, anything less than 6 hours, I would say definitely seek some help or look at your lifestyle. Similar to even water, even a 2% reduction in sweat levels of let's say your body weight in water. If you're dehydrated by 2%, it can have significant performance decreases in a football match, in anything like that. And again, cognitive function as well. You looking at a computer screen, you doing your daily tasks. So water isn't just about, you know, just hydrating the body. It's your brain, it's everything, it's cognitive function, it's actually your blood flow, it's everything. So you need to make sure you got a good amount of hydration and a good amount. So I normally say, again, as I said, 2 to 3 liters is normally good for everybody. on average. And if you can get 2 to 3 liters, you're normally okay. And if you can get 6 to 8 hours of sleep, you're normally okay, from what I've read in the literature.
Yeah. Thank you, Darius. So I'm just looking at some additional questions that have come through from the viewers. And there's one question here, which is kind of the opposite to what we've been talking about, which is, I've been skinny all my life. How do I put some weight on? But I am an MS sufferer, so an additional potential complication there. Could I ask Dr. Chidi to give a response to that one?
Yeah, I mean, there are people who find it difficult to put weight on. They burn fat quite quickly. And there may be medical conditions that are behind it. Really, first of all, I'd make sure that there is nothing else going on, which means you're losing weight or not being able to maintain your weight. If that is fine, then a healthy way to gain weight, a healthy way to boost your weight healthily is items such as beans and nuts. That's what I always talk about. So we know that beans and nuts have more protein per calorie than meat, than steak or anything, right? When you certainly look at those gorillas out there and look at their bodies, look how strong they are, pretty much most of their diet is beans, nuts, fruits, and grains, and they're pretty much similar to us. So if you're looking to gain weight with health, not just with fat and clogged up arteries, those are my go-tos, beans and nuts. Any type you want, it's up to you, whatever you want to do. Also, you can obviously increase the amount that you eat. That's just quite simple. Now, some people just find it very difficult to eat that much more food. But often I will say to people, do you really need to put more weight on? I mean, is it really essential to you to put more weight on? Most of them look totally fine. But if you want to, I go the beans and nuts route.
Okay, thank you. Right, we're gonna take another question that's come through on from our viewers, and this one here is going to be for Darren. How important is a positive mindset to improving health?
Mindset's massively important to everything. Everything you do in the world starts with a thought. So, what you're telling yourself is massively important. We talk about self-talk and we tell ourselves that we can't do something, or we're not good enough, or we're not slim enough, we're not big enough, whatever it is. You've got to really think about what messages you're telling yourself and whether you're sort of sabotaging your own success. And so, yeah, just being aware of what you say to yourself. And often it's messages that we've internalized that other people have said to us at some point in our lives. But once you can start to identify those, you can start to take corrective action and make sure that you kind of stay in that positive mindset.
Thank you, Darren. So another question, that's a medical question again. Is there any truth in that blood pressure water tablets can trigger prostate cancer? One for you again, Dr. Chidi.
Well, first I would say every tablet we take has side effects, and usually quite significant side effects. Aspirin, paracetamol, they all have quite disastrous side effects. And you will find that some blood pressure medications will have side effects that can cause cancer, that can cause diabetes. It's all in the list. You can just read it, which is why, now I'm not a person who's against medication. Just let me make that clear. Medication is often essential, especially in the short term. But this is the reason why, rather than just saying, I'm going to be on this medication for the rest of my life, which doesn't actually cure you from anything, it just treats you. What you can do if you are in a bad state, like you have massively high blood pressure, yes, you take the medication for a short while whilst you change your lifestyle. Once your lifestyle has changed, you can then take the medication away because it's no longer needed. It's a bit like having I used to be an orthopedic, so you break a bone, we put a plate on it, we allow the bone to grow back, then we take the plate away. We don't just say leave the plate there for the rest of your life. So as soon as you can get off medication, because every medication has a side effect, the better for you.
Okay, thank you. And another question for you as well, Dr. Chidi, is with regards to diabetes, which again has a high prevalence in the Afro-Caribbean community. And the question is it possible to reverse diabetes? And before you answer, I picked up that Patrick mentioned, or he kind of let slip that he used to have diabetes. So once you've answered this, I'll go to Patrick and get him to give a response as well.
Yes. The short answer is for type 2 diabetes. I mean, I have probably reversed thousands of people with type 2 diabetes. And it doesn't matter what your background is, it doesn't matter what your family is like. Diabetes is not a genetic problem. There's no gene for diabetes. What it is a lifestyle problem that runs through families. So once you're able to change the lifestyle, and some people can do it just by losing weight, most people need a bit more guidance. But type 2 diabetes is pretty much all. I've never really found anybody who couldn't reverse it. Type 1 diabetes, which people think is irreversible, is reversible for maybe 30% of the people. Because obviously the type 1 diabetes is where you have a pancreas that is packed up. But if it's not fully packed up, then there is hope that you can still reverse even that.
Just very quickly, what sort of things do you need to do to reverse type 2 diabetes and then type 1?
Well, briefly, I'll just explain what type 2 diabetes is. It's just where your cells become insulin resistant. You need insulin to get glucose into cells. And if you've had a lifestyle of Cokes and Big Macs and Mars bars, well, you're always going to have lots of insulin in your system that your cells start to say, well, we're no longer responding to insulin. You know, we're fed up of responding to insulin. You make insulin as a diabetic, but you just don't respond. So what you need then to do is to reduce that insulin surge in your life. So that means changing your diet to a more basic diet that doesn't generate so much insulin, and then just be guided back into allowing your cells then to be insulin sensitive again. Now, when we reverse people, they actually stop the medication from day one. So they don't need any more medication from day one, and by 4 weeks, 6 weeks, they're free of diabetes and they're obviously free of medication.
And then type 1, is it a different process for type 1?
Yeah, type 1 is a similar process, but we have to be a lot more cautious. And you don't take them off the medication at all. It's a much slower process because we want to make sure, is the pancreas actually working or not? So if it is working, then they will be able to maintain their insulin levels. If they're not, but you have to really have a tighter control on them.
Thank you. Patrick, turning to you, you mentioned that you had diabetes. Could you give us an insight into where you are now with your diabetes?
When I last checked, which was maybe about August, yeah, it was definitely under control, because again, weight loss and my weight loss and actually looking at my diet as well, it all helped. So that was it. As I said, I used to drink a lot. Even, to be quite honest, when I was losing weight, I was still drinking because I've loved pop all my life. So it was that one thing that my body always craved. So just really decided to cut, even though I didn't want to take it. I didn't want to take it for granted that, yeah, I'm losing the weight, but still consuming too much sugar. So cutting that drastically helps. So yeah, it's definitely under control.
That's a really positive story. Really positive story. So we're getting quite a few questions coming through on YouTube. I think this one is for Darius. I'm trying to get in the habit of regular exercise. I keep yo-yoing, and some weeks I exercise every day and some weeks I don't do anything at all. What can I do to make a habit of daily exercise?
Set a goal is the first thing. Why are you exercising? That's always going to be my first thing. That's the first thing I ask any of my clients. So they might come to me and say, Darius, I want to lose this much weight. I have this, I do that. I want this, and that. The next thing I'll say is why. Again, it goes back to something that Dr. Chidi said in the beginning, is embracing the pain. If you know why you want to do something, the barriers that you put in place are going to be very small. Whereas if you're kind of just doing it to do something, it's going to be very difficult for you to be motivated to do it now. So that's going to be my first thing, like, which isn't necessarily super practical. Second thing is making time for it and knowing exactly what you want to do each day. So, and trying to integrate it into your schedule, into your lifestyle, not make it an extra thing. So just how you need to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner or whatever, or you need to go to work, or you need to pick up the kids or whatever. If you can integrate exercise, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour, or however long it is, into your lifestyle, it will make it more manageable and sustainable. And again, it's always start small. So I'm a big advocate of walks. I think we've all kind of said that. Dr. Chidi, Darren, Patrick, we've all kind of advocated walks. And here's why for me. Walks, again, you burn more calories than you think, and secondly, you're gonna use your fat stores more than you're gonna use your carbohydrate and glycogen stores. So at lower intensities, which a walk is, you're going to utilize fat more than you're going to, or oxidize, should I say, fat more than you're going to oxidize glycogen. So then again, if you're trying to lose fat, if you're exercising for fat loss, walks are pretty much essential for me. So, and again, if you're trying to get a bit stronger and you want to do some body weight stuff, then again, try and find a little bit of a program that you can follow as well. Again, if you've got something that's a structured program that you can follow, it's 45 minutes to an hour or something like that, and you know, right, I need to do this many squats, this many push-ups, this many, I don't know, dips, this many sit-ups every other day, then you can kind of follow it. So it's just, I think what I'm trying to say in a nutshell is find a structure that will work for you rather than fitting in when you can and just, you know, going through that emotional yo-yo of, right, I'm getting on it. Monday, I'm getting on it. Then the next week, something happens. You're like, all right, I missed this day, I missed that day. You know what, I'm just going to wait till Monday to start again. You know what I mean? I think that's one thing I see happen a lot in these kind of yo-yo kind of cycles. It's saying, okay, this is why I want to do what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. And this is how I'm going to fit it in my lifestyle. And again, start small. You might not need to exercise every day. You might just start with 2 to 3 times a week. Then once that becomes part of your lifestyle, you might find time for 4 and 5. Then once 4 and 5 becomes part of your lifestyle, you find time for 6 and 7. And to be fair, you probably don't need to do 7. Rest is important. So yeah, that's kind of my idea.
Okay, thank you, Darius. Thank you.
Can I just interject there at all?
Sure.
What it's really just to back up what Darius says, because again, I'm living proof of it, and people who know me would know that they would have known me at 24 stone for most of my life, or in 20. I'm 14 now. So yeah, it's what I would say, and what I say to people who ask me, and as Darius alluded to, you need to know why you want to lose the weight first. For me, one of my greatest motivations was, I'm 50 now. I don't know how long I've got left on the earth. And for me, I want to make the rest of my life, the best of my life. So my health was the driving point for that. So you need to know why you want to lose weight. Once you've got that firmly fixed in your mind, because it is a mindset thing. Once you've got that firmly fixed in your mind, there's days when you won't want to do it, but then you remember, this is what I'm trying to, this is the goal that I'm trying to achieve. And if it is about, and I think it should always be, especially if you're overweight, if it's about your health and your well-being, if that becomes priority, then everything else falls into line. Because again, think short-term things. I want to get into this dress for the Christmas party, for the wedding, for the birthday party. What happens when you actually reach that goal? Then again, as Darius talked about rebounding, and I know, because as I said, I've been there. But if you have your health and your well-being as the main focus, everything else falls into line, as as Dr. Chidi says, you know, the natural progression of things, of you losing weight, looking better, looking younger, sleeping, all that comes into play. But you need to know and settle in your mind first why you're doing it. And if that becomes a priority, then everything else will fall into place.
Thank you, Patrick. And I'll take that as a really good concluding comment from you. And I'm conscious that we're now 8:45. So what I want to do now is just for the other panelists, just give a minute or two just to provide some concluding comments. So could we go to Darren for his concluding comments?
I think another tip there in terms of consistency and is probably why Darius does so well at what he does. It's having an accountability partner. Athletes don't train on their own. You know, we have a team of people behind us. And the reason why you turn up is because if you don't, you know that someone's going to be on your back. So often we say we're going to do something and we don't do it because there's no one, you know, forcing us to do it or encouraging us to do it. So, and if you can't afford, you know, a personal trainer, then the other big thing you can do is find someone else with similar goals to yourself and have a training partner. I think in terms of the diet as well, my big tip would be to do it as a family. I always kind of have this. I remember speaking to a friend of mine, and he was basically talking about wanting to lose weight, and I said, well, you know, look at all this junk you've got in your cupboard. And he goes, oh, but my son loves it. So I said to his son, you know, do you want your dad to have a long and healthy life? And he said, yes. I said, well, then you need to join him as well, you know, to help him along that journey. Because at the end of the day, if you're on a diet, but your partner or someone else in your family is stuffing their face full of cake, you're going to want that cake. And so if you can get your family to join in on that journey with you, if you can get your friends to join in on that journey with you, if you can get your work colleagues to do that, then that's going to help you along the way. You know, there's no point going to a work stu and people are trying to sort of discourage you from your goals. And you say, well, you know what, I'm trying to lose weight. And they said, oh, it's only one cake, it's only one drink, it's only this. And they're actually disablers. I call them disablers. Are the people around you enabling you to succeed or disabling you from succeeding? And sometimes you have to start separating those out.
Thank you, Darren. Darius.
Yeah, I want to say thank you again for having me on here. It's been an absolute pleasure with all the people who are on the panel. I'll conclude with this. My kind of philosophy as a coach, as a personal trainer, or whatever you want to call it, somebody who's going to help you get to your goals is threefold, based on literature, based on my experience. It's education, action, and accountability. First of all, whatever your goal is, you're going to have the knowledge and education on how to get there. Whether it's through a mentor, whether it's through someone else, whether it's through reading books, whether it's through going on YouTube, whatever it is, you're going to have the knowledge and education on how to get to your goal, how to sustain it, how to get through glass ceilings and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so first, education. Second, what do you do with that education? You put it into action. Okay, you make sure you're actually doing what you're learning about, what you're reading about, what you want to do. You action what you're learning about. So everything you might, again, for the viewers here who might have been writing notes or taken something in, now is time for action. After that, you need accountability, just like how we've said to everybody, how Darren's alluded to, and that you need people who are going to keep you on top of your goals, or even if it's just yourself, being accountable to yourself by monitoring what you're doing, by putting your goals up on somewhere where you can see them. You need some sort of form of accountability. That could be from, again, a family member, a training partner, personal trainer, or a coach. Once you've got those three things in, the last thing the last possible variable is just going to be time. Once you've got the education of what you need to do and you're actually doing it, and you're accountable and you're staying consistent, it's just time. That's where the biggest failure is, mostly because people don't expect it to take as long as it is. Basically, if anybody on here wants to lose weight or put on weight and they have a time frame in mind, triple it and you'll be fine. All right. But I'll conclude on that.
I think, can you hear me?
We can now. You're frozen.
Okay, yes, yeah. I might need some help to pay that broadband bill from you, Junior, at some stage. So Dr. Chidi, concluding remarks, please.
Yes, well, it has been a pleasure, and it's been a pleasure to meet you all and see you all. I love all the different aspects that have been demonstrated here today. Obviously coming from my background, I think everything that has been said has been so beneficial and uplifting. You can get healthier, you can feel better, but on top of it, this kind of lifestyle change, I think Darren was right. Why call it diet anyway? You can call it live it, right? That's a better way to think. But this kind of lifestyle change can actually not just make you feel better, but remove certain hard and fast illnesses that our body's gripped in. You can be made free, and for me, that is the beauty. I said I've done thousands of these. There is never a person who, when they lose all their medication, throw them all away, I don't get excited about. I'm always excited, because that's somebody who's been transformed from being in a certain type of captivity to being free. And it starts with all the things that we've been talking about. Yeah, we feel better, we look better, but actually we get free of disease, and that is definitely possible.
Thank you. Thank you. This whole session has been really insightful. And for me, I've taken loads of notes for myself. This thing about standing as opposed to sitting down at your desk during the day. I sit down for 8 hours a day normally, so that's one of the things I'm going to look at. Apps to monitor your levels of activity, the 80-20 rule when it comes to the importance of food versus exercise for losing weight, vitamin D, having a daily vitamin D dosage. I do that anyway, but that's as a result of one of your previous you did with Life Builders, Dr. Chidi, so thank you for that. Take out milk protein from your diet to support not having prostate cancer, blueberries and cardamom to help prevent prostate cancer, water as the most important supplement, and sleep, which is the time when the body repairs itself. So I've taken these notes. I'm going to try and really make them sink in and apply them to my daily life. I'll now hand over to Junior for the thanks and close.
Okay, thank you, Emil, for dealing with this session so brilliantly, and thank you to all the panelists. Patrick, did we get your concluding remarks, Pat?
Well, yeah, I've done it in, but the only other thing I'd just add for people watching, that we have got a Facebook group called Walking to Wellness that people are free to join. They don't have to be my friends. If they are on Facebook, they can just find it, and I can add them to the group. And it's a great encouragement, as you can attest, Junior.
Yeah.
A lot of inspiration, a lot of support, a lot of accountability as well. So yeah, that's all I had.
Thank you. I will just kind of support what Patrick's saying there. This is an absolutely brilliant group. But if I'm not mistaken, I think we've even got people from overseas in that group.
Yeah, Philippines, Australia, America, Portugal, Italy. Yeah, so
cool. Excellent. Excellent. So yeah, just thank you to all the panelists. This has been an absolutely brilliant session. It's coming up to 9 o'clock. We don't want to keep people too long. We've been on here for about 2 hours, and Darren needs to get to bed. Dr. Chidi, there's a couple of people asking for contact information for yourself. Is there a way that individuals could contact you? Is there a website or?
Yeah, should I just share the screen again with my details?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, yep.
Oh, no, I can't do
that. Oh, wait there. Hang on a bit. Let me just, right, give it another go. You should be okay.
There we go. Let's go there. So if you want to get hold of me, these are the best ways. Twitter and Instagram, Dr. Chidi MD, or if you need an email, it's just drchidi me.com. Oh, can you see that actually?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. All right. So that's it. And happy to talk to anybody.
Excellent. Excellent. So what we'll do, if you didn't manage to catch that, we will make sure we put those details into the description of this video. So, you know, come back to this video in maybe about 10-15 minutes, and we'll ensure that the contact details are in there if you need to get contact with Dr. Chidi. Patrick, the Facebook group, is that a closed group? They have to be invited, is that right?
No, they can find the group if they just type
Okay.
in walk into wellness,
Wellness.
and then they can ask for an invite, and then I'll just approve it.
Okay, so what we'll do, we'll put the link for that group as well into the description within the next 15 minutes. And Darius, is any contact information for yourself? There may be people here from Leeds that would sort of benefit from help from someone like yourself.
Follow me. I try and be as inspirational as I can and share some of these truths on my Instagram story. So I've got a section I do it's called Science Sunday. So I dive into some of the literature around fat loss and weight loss and muscle building. And so on Sundays, sometimes I do question and answers and stuff like that. So it's at Coach Daz PT for Instagram. That's my main platform at the moment. I'm working on my website, Facebook and things like that as well. And I do actually do online coaching where I can, again, if you are looking to get into the gym or something like that, or whatever your goals are in terms of your exercise, I do online coaching through my app. I give you accountability and check-ins and all the stuff that we've spoken about, and education as well. So I've got little cheat sheets and guides to nutrition and diet and stuff like that. So yeah, follow me. It's at Coach Daz, Coach DAZ PT, and that will be me on Instagram.
Excellent. We'll get that into the description as well. And lastly, Darren, I know you do a lot of talks around. If people wanted to get in touch with you,
Yeah, so I speak with organisations mainly, and my website is darrenharrisgb.com, and all my social media accounts are the same, at darrenharrisgb. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Yeah,
that's
everything.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Really, really appreciate it. For everyone that's online watching us on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm sure there'll be others that will be watching the replay. Hope you have enjoyed, and more so than that, have received information. It's going to actually help you make practical steps in your life to make changes and improve your health. Once again, Life Builders, we are a Christian organisation. We are a part of the New Testament Church of God. Our aim really is to build better men in the kingdom, the family, and the community. There's several events that we've been doing online since lockdown. So please do, first of all, in terms of this video, like the video, subscribe to our channel, so we can ensure that whenever we've got anything new coming out, you'll be aware of that. We do have a website, lifebuilders.org.uk, and you can find us on Facebook as well, facebook.com/lifebuilders.